Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? As is customary, when one NFL draft passes, immediately all of the draftniks satiate our unquenchable hunger and give us a way too early mock draft for the next year. And Todd McShay complied. So Todd McShay has posted his way too early 2024 mock draft. So there's a couple of things that you would learn from this. Number one, it's how they put together the draft order. And the way they put together the draft order obviously would sort of be a lean toward how you would assume the season would go. And they do it based on inverse Super Bowl odds. So if you're wondering, that means the Saints would be picking Saints would be picking 21st. Saints are projected to win the division. Division's projected to be not great, but the Saints projected to be 21st. Okay, to pick 21st. Of course, 14 teams make the postseason. You get one bye in each league, and then 6 teams play. Or 7 teams, so 14 total make the playoffs. Of note, we've got Tampa Bay trading up to the number 1 overall pick to take Caleb Williams. We've got Arizona with the first overall pick. Tampa going up from 5 to 1 to take Caleb Williams. If that were to happen, and Tampa is tanking, make no mistake about it, Tampa is tanking. They've traded off their assets. They are rolling this year with some combination of Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. They're tanking. They're trying to lose so they can get Caleb Williams, presumably Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever it's going to be at the top of next year's draft, and then roll forward with what they hope is their future franchise. It's what I wanted the Saints to do. They're taking a different path. We're seeing what Tampa's doing. So if Caleb Williams ends up at Tampa, that means you would have Bryce Young, Caleb Williams in the division in consecutive years. That's a terrifying thought if you're a Saints fan. For what it's worth, Falcons picking 7th, taking Jared Verse, the defensive end out of Florida State. Got to see him last year against LSU. Athletic edge who had transferred into Florida State a year ago and surprised a lot of people when he decided to go back to Florida State for another year when he was a presumed first-round pick in this year's draft. And then a pick later is where they would have Carolina picking. But again, Carolina doesn't have a first-rounder. They traded it to Chicago to move up this year to take Bryce Young. The Saints at 21, interestingly, hey, Muse. Hey, Muse. It's a live radio show. I need you to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You want to take a guess who Todd McShay's got the Saints taking at 21?
Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State.
No, they have Marvin Harrison Jr. going from a wide receiver of Ohio State going 2nd overall to the Cardinals.
Oh.
But you were not far off.
Is it the other Ohio State receiver with the how do you say his name? Of course that's who they have.
Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah. Welcome to New Orleans.
Wide receiver from Ohio State. Like, it ain't a bad guess. Olave a year ago, Michael Thomas, Von Bell. I mean, just
Marshawn Lattimore.
Get on the list. I mean, just pick the best available player from Ohio State. You got a shot. You got a shot. I will tell you this. I would not be very excited if the Saints take a receiver next year. And listen, let me be clear. I don't want to give you a years in advance take. I would not be excited if the Saints needed to take a receiver in round 1 next year. Because that would mean you basically went belly up this year with all the receiving options you have. Again, we've been through this a bit, but you feel really good about Chris Olave. And you've got a lot of guys with some potential that you like. They just kind of have to hit. Meaning, If Michael Thomas looks like Michael Thomas, even at 30 years old, great. Rashid Shaheed, can he take another step? If so, great. You signed Brian Edwards from the Raiders. Kid who was at South Carolina. We got to chat with Brian Edwards a few years ago at SEC Media Day, set every South Carolina career receiving record, played with Carr in Las Vegas. What if he's just not very good making the transition? Like, what if it doesn't work out? I hope he does. It'd be great. You just drafted A.T. Perry in round 6. I love the pick. You still got Tre'Quan hanging around. And you got Kirk Merritt, and you got some of the other guys that Kawan Baker, who you drafted a couple of years ago. I mean, my point is you got bodies at receiver, and some with some really big potential. But if you're picking a receiver in round 1 next year, it means all those guys I just listed, they crashed and burned. So I hope the Saints are not picking a receiver in round 1 next year. That would be an illustration of a poor offensive season if next year you got to take a receiver in round 1. There was one LSU player in round 1. You got really a coin flip. Muse, you want to guess who it was? Have you looked at this, by the way?
No, I have not.
Okay, do you want to guess? You got a coin. You got a coin flip. Basically.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Malik Neighbors.
No.
Wow. Okay.
That's what surprised me.
Yeah, I bet.
Mason Smith.
Makes sense.
17 to the Texans. Neighbors not being in this was the surprise to me. I have no problem with Mason Smith being in this. Mason Smith's a freak show. In 9 games as a freshman, he blew stuff up. And then he just missed all of last year. So guys come back from ACLs now better than they ever have. You're presuming he's healthy, plays a full season. If he does, he'll be a first-round pick. He's a freak show. I mean, in some respects, he's kind of Brian Brzee. He's a massive interior lineman, like number 1 overall player, 5-star, had a knee injury. But like it's very similar in that respect. Mason Smith didn't play a full season as a freshman because he had some injury stuff. But I don't think anybody looks at Mason Smith and goes, man, really injury-prone guy. It's unfortunate, dude. Had a freak ACL thing. It happens. But if he comes back and is healthy and plays a full season this year, I mean, that's a guy that should be on everybody's mock draft as a first-rounder for 2024. Malik Neighbors not being in this surprised me. He had the real, as far as an explosive athlete, dynamic game breaker, can play in the slot, can play outside, deep, middle, fearless. I mean, he's that dude, I'm a little surprised, especially considering how we've started to see the value of receiver creep back into round 1. Running back value obviously has been just washed away, but receiver value is there. Because you see guys like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and guys at the in round 1 pop off, and then I mean it's easy to look and go, all right, the next great one from LSU. So little surprised not to see Malik Neighbors in there. Completely understand Mason Smith being in there, and it makes sense if you're Todd McShay that you would mock an Ohio State wide receiver or Ohio State fill in the blank player to LSU. To the Saints. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.